Man is gregarious. For survival and for pleasure, we live in those places of the earth where there's already somebody else. We dwell in cities. But cities can grow and grow until the lives of the inhabitants, the ones there since birth, and the ones who came yesterday, and the ones on their way, until their lives become tedious and the pleasure begins to fade. The core of the city is a place not of people, but of machines. A place not of life, but of decay. Time and crowds and wheels have all but crushed what was once the promise of our cities. A good place to work, to play, to live. It is a challenge flung at the people of virtually every major city on earth. This is one such place, the San Francisco Bay Area. Bisected by water, split by hills, clinging to cliffs, spread along shifting dunes of sand. These surprises of earth and elements make this a place of beauty. They are also barriers to people on the move. And if the region is to remain vital, its people must move, tens of thousands at a time. The answer is in a project named for this region, for this era. BART, Bay Area Rapid Transit. There are many ways to get from one place to another, even on rapid transit. The men who have in their hands the future of BART determined from the beginning that this would be the best system the world has ever seen. They made in-depth studies of every transit system in existence, and some that are not. Innovative systems for other localities weren't always applicable to the particular conditions of the Bay Area, where trains must operate on aerial structures, on the ground, in subways, and under the waters of San Francisco Bay.
Well, of course, it's obvious, gentlemen, that the central cities are being strangled by traffic and by...
Finding of this commission that a rapid transit system is a vital need for our citizens, for our business community.
Business development can go forward only if a system of rapid transit is built.
It is hereby resolved that a Bay Area Rapid Transit District shall be created to plan and, if approved, to build and operate a regional system.
Engineering and financial consultants have found the transit plan feasible, so now it's up to this...
Voters are going to the polls in record numbers today to decide on the proposed Bay Area Rapid Transit System. It's been a heavy campaign throughout the Bay Area.
This is where the BART trains will roll, carrying up to 30,000 people an hour on several routes. From Concord, or any of the other communities along the eastern branch of BART, by aerial and surface lines, through the Berkeley Hills by tunnel, and on to the Oakland subway. From as far away as Richmond, aerial transit to Berkeley, then by subway to downtown Oakland. From Fremont, by aerial and ground level train, then beneath the heavily congested streets. Between Oakland and San Francisco, underwater by tube. San Francisco, underground, up Market Street, with a surface branch to the west for municipal streetcars, and another branch for BART trains south to Daly City. And that's not the end of it. All terminals will have open-end connections. They'll be ready for the future expansion of rapid transit throughout the entire Bay region. With a project as complicated as BART, a team approach is called for. The BART district selected a joint venture composed of 3 firms. Bechtel Corporation, sponsor of the joint venture, with design and construction assignments on 6 continents, a reservoir of talents across the entire engineering spectrum, special experience in solving complex electrical, mechanical, and automation problems. Parsons, Brinkerhoff, Quaid, and Douglas, performers of the original BART studies. Bridges, highways, airports, defense installations, and other large public works are all a part of this company's distinguished planning and construction record. Tudor Engineering Company, structural engineering specialists, designers of major highways, bridges, and dams, a firm responsible for reviewing the feasibility of transportation and water development projects around the world. The men of Parsons, Brinkerhoff, Tudor, Bechtel, combining resources and experience in design teams of architects, designers, and engineers, in construction management teams to supervise all the many kinds of work that go into building what has been called this century's most challenging experiment in mass transit. On the July day in 1967, when school children turned the first shovel of earth on San Francisco's Market Street, there was no visual clue to the magnitude of the project. Not only earth had to be moved, but the confusions of the past had to be contended with. Among them, a 10-foot layer of pipes, cables, wires, conduits, a tangle of utilities laid down under the street by 200 different companies through the years. High-pressure water and gas lines, steam pipes, sewers. They had to be sorted from telephone, telegraph, fire alarm, burglar alarm, and other electrical utilities. And everything had to be moved without interrupting service. It's a matter of starting at the bottom, under the streets of the cities, under Market Street and Mission Street in San Francisco, under Broadway in Oakland, and Shattuck Avenue in Berkeley. Men have been digging tunnels for a long time, but there are tunnels easily dug and tunnels not so easy. In fact, beyond comparison. The ones for BART are the kind that demand all the engineering knowledge that man has accumulated since his first venture underground. Down deep, deep enough in some places for a 7-story building. Below water level, where men work under compressed air pressure that keeps the water-soaked soil from caving in. Up to 36 pounds of pressure. 3 hours in the airlock to work a 3-hour shift. And compressed air raises temperatures. At street level, it's a cool spring day. Here, it's 85 degrees and humid. Beneath San Francisco, mechanical moles at work, machines that force a revolving head out from the tunnel heading, literally chewing their way through the earth. Beneath Oakland and Berkeley, different conditions, other machines. Powerful hydraulic jacks force a steel shield into the soil like a gigantic cookie cutter. As the tunneling moves forward, a continuous wall of steel rings, 3 tons each, is put into place. Permanent lining for the subway. To keep the tunnel builders in precise alignment, laser beams cut through the gloom of the subterranean world. 1,200 men laboring in the earth beneath 3 cities. And that's only part of the job. The BART trains will run under San Francisco Bay, and here is what the commuter will be traveling through. Huge prefabricated steel sections, built and launched in a shipyard. Each section is towed to the job site, weighted with gravel, and at the precise time when tide conditions are right, sunk beneath the surface. Again, construction is kept in line by an ingenious application of laser beams. Sighting on lasers both day and night, engineers keep all submarine construction precisely aligned against the ceaseless motion of the bay, the back and forth movement of waves, the up and down movement of tides. Each section of the Trans-Bay tube needs a trench to settle into, which is gouged out of the floor of the bay by a fleet of dredges and barges. Next, gravel. Tons of it, shot beneath the surface through telescoping pipes and leveled to a tolerance of less than 3/4 of an inch. Down into the gravel trench is lowered each massive section of the tube, 58 in all, each longer than a football field. Down from a huge catamaran, 2 railroad barges connected by steel bridges. Despite the size of this rig, the hydraulic equipment lowering the sections is so sensitive that the operators can control the descent in inches. Now the divers take over. Underwater is not man's element, and the swirling bay tides stir up clouds of silt so thick that much of the work must be done by touch. Here, in depths of 135 feet beneath the bay, divers give final directions by telephone line to the surface, and each tube section is settled carefully into the submarine trench and welded to the one before it. The longest, the deepest structure of its kind ever attempted underwater. 3.5 miles of thick concrete walls encased in welded armor of steel plate, changing horizontal direction twice, vertical direction 6 times. Lying in an area between 2 earthquake faults, the tube is guarded against seismic shock by unique joints which allow it to move in any direction in the thick cushion of mud in which it lies. As the work moves farther from each shoreline, distances become too great for the men to walk to the job site. They become the first and probably the last cyclists under San Francisco Bay. When it comes to a mountain, the shortest distance is through the center, 1,000 feet below the surface of the Berkeley Hills, traveling directly through a part of the Earth respectfully called the Hayward Fault, one of the most active earthquake zones in the world. 3 miles through 19 geological formations, fantastically tilted, sheared, and fractured layers of rock, sandstone, shale, some as unstable as powdered graphite. Heavy ribs of horseshoe-shaped steel, 1.5 feet of reinforced concrete wall, and a concrete floor 3 feet thick will support the tunnels. It's not all underground and underwater, not all tunnels and tubes. The rapid transit tracks sometimes rise above the surface, gliding in aerial skyways 25, 30 feet above ground level. $120 tons. That's how much some of the pre-stressed concrete aerial girders weigh. Yet they're graceful, an aesthetic concept that has already received 3 national awards for design excellence. Slim, a minimum of shadow, allowing sunlight for pedestrian thoroughfares, for parks and playgrounds and malls. BART is not, of course, meant to replace highways, but to supplement them. So it is natural that in many places, BART lines are being constructed along the middle strip of freeways, making a single corridor for both cars and rapid transit. The lightweight trains themselves, electrically powered, no fumes or exhaust, no swaying or jolting, free of vibration, quiet, smooth. Speed, up to 80 miles an hour, averaging 45 to 50 miles per hour, including station stops. Even the way the rails are held down is something new. Designed specifically for BART conditions, the rail fasteners go directly into concrete. They include a layer of rubber which insulates the rails electrically and deadens sound and vibration. The engineers tested out in homely rolling labs that speed to nowhere along 4.5 miles of test track. In 3 laboratory cars, they check stability, wind resistance, noise control, vibration, communications, power supply, braking power, automatic train control, different kinds of road beds, ties, and rails. The public tested out too, in a full-scale model exhibited throughout the Bay Area. These tests may not be as scientific, but they're just as demanding. Cushioned seats, the same kind you find on jet airliners. Carpeting, subdued color, wood grain paneling, air conditioning, wide tinted windows, it's all here. Fare collection, automatic, and unlike anything seen before. Computers regulate the ticketing, and each passenger pays only for the distance he rides. But for all this computerized efficiency, the human element has not been left out. At least one agent is on duty at each station at all times to assist passengers. 3 stations will be at ground level, 17 on aerial structures. The areas in which they'll be located range from city neighborhoods to suburban centers. Sensitive to the need for environmental design, the joint venture engineers selected individual architects for creative work on the stations. Each station will be distinct. Each will reflect the unique quality of its surroundings, an accomplishment of 20 teams of architects and landscape architects. 17 stations are underground. In San Francisco, some will be on 3 levels. A pedestrian mezzanine with underground entrances to adjacent buildings, a second level where city streetcars will run, and a third level for the rapid transit trains. All are serviced by escalators to the street level and designed for a feeling of space and air and light. Each train on the BART system is pre-programmed for when it will start and stop at each station, where it will go, the speed at which it will travel. And the master computer constantly monitors the entire system, making minute adjustments to tolerances that could not be achieved by human judgment. Even the opening and closing of the train doors is automated. Thus, the passengers ride more safely than in a system that depends upon individual motormen, dispatchers, and mechanical signals. The automatic train control system safely starts, stops, runs, and spaces up to 450 transit cars around the 75-mile system. But again, the human aspect is not overlooked. Each train has an attendant who is in communication with BART stations and the control center and is available to give assistance to his passengers. Transition, change. BART will have its effect on time, on terrain. Most of all, lives will change. The lives of millions of people of the Bay Area. A wider choice of places to work. It will be easier to get there. A wider choice of places to live. It will be simple to get home again. A new magnetism for business in the center of the cities. A new ease of travel for those who want to get to the centers. A new freedom of movement. New beginnings for neighborhoods cut off from the mainstream. Theaters, sports, concerts, exhibitions, fairs, festivals, all available in a few minutes of travel time. As BART reaches toward reality, its promise extends far beyond the San Francisco Bay Area. This is the first complete rapid transit system built in the United States in this century. But it is only the first of many. This bold engineering solution to the riddle of mass transportation is a glimpse of the future, the very near future.